right, let's talk about Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones and the latest ongoing saga in Cowboy world, because that's just how they do business. Mac, I want you to wax poetic on this, because here we go again with Jerry taking his time. Is this a good instance of him doing so, or do you have issue with it?
I think it's just consistent with how he makes decisions. He's not going to do it until he has to do it. And he doesn't have to do it really until Tuesday, sometime in the afternoon, when technically Mike McCarthy's contract will expire. And if he doesn't have to do it, we've seen it time and time again with contract extensions or any kind of personnel decision. If the deadline is 2 o'clock on Tuesday, then he'll wait. And he doesn't mean anything by it. There's no gun to his head. So if this is going to get done between now and 2 o'clock on Tuesday, then it's going to be done at 1:59. And it's pointless to sit here and whine and complain about it. Why isn't he getting it done sooner? We could wax about this all day. He's not going to do it until he has to. And quite frankly, I think he's going to drag this out into the 11th hour, 59th minute, and 59th second.
Listen, we've heard him say it time and time again, deadlines make deals. And unfortunately, that may be true in the business world, right? But this is not said business world. And while deadlines can make deals, they can also put you behind the 8 ball while you're waiting for more leaves to fall, and while you're playing option quarterback and you're wanting to hold onto the ball a little bit longer, as Jerry says. Well, you know what, Jerry? When you come around that corner sometimes and you hold onto the ball too long as an option quarterback, you get killed. You get killed. Mike Leslie, what do you know about that?
Far too much. Buddy, when I tell you I was slow as could be running the option, you didn't want me running the option. Listen, he's done this so many times before. We saw him do this with Des Bryant. We talked about that last week. We saw him do this at a couple of different points during Jason Garrett's tenure with the Cowboys and how long it took him to make these decisions. Because he wants to take this long to make these decisions, because he wants for there to be 2 weeks worth of the Ultimate Dallas Sports Show talking all things Dallas Cowboys. We should be talking about Texas and Ohio State right now, but we're not, because Jerry's stringing us all along as he possibly can. This is his end game. It has always been his end game. And I hate to say it, it works. We are proof positive of it right now.
What works how,
whether
though?
It works from a football perspective or not.
Right.
In the world that he's most concerned with, which is keeping his team at the forefront of everything, it works.
Right. It works on the I suppose the popular side of it, getting views, getting clicks, that kind of side of things. We're more concerned about the football side because the football took a downturn this year, Joe.
Yeah, no, that's part of it, and that's the issue I have with this. And Mac, you're right. He's been doing it this way forever, and Jerry Jones is not going to change. It doesn't matter what anyone says. You're right. But I will point this out because there's been plenty of time to make these decisions. Whatever meetings, whatever he talked about with Mike McCarthy during this last week, over those past 3 or 4 days, there was time in the season when your team was absolutely eliminated. You could have had those meetings. You could have come to a decision so that on Monday, after the season was over, you could have presented a united front, a front by which people who follow this sport would seem like, oh, you know what, the Cowboys, they kind of got their stuff together, but they don't. And that's the issue that I have. But it's deeper than that, because when you look at that locker room, and we know how Jerry emasculates his coaches as it is with the way he does business, think about that locker room. And when they think about this week, what's going on with our coach? Or how much does coach even matter in the grand scheme of things because of the way that they handle this situation? And who knows? Does he get a 3-year deal? I don't think he gets any more than that. I don't think there's any way he gets more than that. And if he does, it doesn't really mean anything, because all this does is continue to drain power away from the head coach. And that is problematic moving forward. And that's the biggest issue I have with this entire thing.
And Mike's comments are a prime example of that, where he was essentially asked, do you care if Mike McCarthy's coming back? And he said that's above my pay grade multiple times. Mac, what do you see in this?
There is one element to this I think we're all kind of underplaying a little bit, and that is, what is Mike McCarthy asking for as these conversations go on that is preventing this from being done immediately? I asked Mike McCarthy after the season-ending loss to Washington, is your first preference to come back here? He said, absolutely. I also asked him, does he want to be the offensive play caller? He talked his way around that. We have seen coaches, specifically Jason Garrett, have certain responsibilities taken away from him, negotiated away, talked away, however you want to call it, as part of being the head coach. Jason Garrett was the play caller, then he wasn't. It was Scott Linehan. Mike McCarthy was the play caller in Green Bay. He comes to Dallas. No, he's not. It's Kellen Moore. Then Kellen Moore leaves on his own. Now he's the play caller. You can make a real argument that there was a lot to be desired with some of the play calling under Mike McCarthy. Does Jerry go to him and say, okay, you can be the head coach. I want you to hire somebody to be the offensive coordinator who's going to call the plays. Brian Schottenheimer didn't. Is that part of the conversation? And then the other element to this is, does Mike McCarthy want to talk to Chicago? I think that would be a better fit for him, but that's just my own 2 cents. I'm wondering if both he and his agent are dragging their feet on this a little bit just to get to Tuesday so they can visit with Chicago.
No, I think it's a great point, Mac, because, listen, we know the history of Jerry Jones. He doesn't like to pay coaches. He's not just going to throw that money out there. However, if you go and get an offer and bring it back to him, let's see what happens. Right? So, no, I think you could very well be onto something. And there's a reason that Mike McCarthy hired Don Yee this year. He did not have him before. And Yee, as we know, has negotiated some of the biggest coaching contracts in the entire NFL. You mentioned Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore, by the way, is still coaching. He'll be calling plays for the Eagles in the divisional round of the playoffs. And the other coordinator that was once under Mike McCarthy, well, his Commanders are going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs too. Funny how that works out.